saying they didn't receive a link to the meeting.
I will resend that.
Okay, thank you.
So I actually don't see a registrant for item 16.
They might be talking about they didn't get the email I sent them to attend the meeting. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
I'm sorry. That's what they're saying.
I don't think they're. Let's see. I think I had to dig to find an email because I don't know if they included one in their application. No, they didn't. And I sent it to Marco Flores Rojo at gmail.com because that's the email we have on file for the liquor beer agent.
They thought the meeting was in person.
Okay.
Let me see. Hold on.
Looks like we do have an attendee that just raised their hand. Do you want to unmute them?
Yes, please.
So attendee labeled as Zoom user. You should have a prompt to unmute yourself. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
What item are you here for?
It's for alcohol license.
Yeah, which one?
I was denied, so I had to speak to you guys. I set the meeting up like 3-4 weeks ago.
Oh, you're here for an operator license?
Operator license, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Are you?
Why is this in?
Are you Aaron?
I'm Aaron.
Or Andrew? Okay,
Aaron.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can you still hear me?
Yep, still here.
All right.
We'll let you know. We'll call you when we get to your ID's number 6.
You know what? I'll look for their email. I had it, but I need to.
Yeah, the one I had in file for liquor beer agent was Marco Flores Rojo at gmail.com.
Okay,
I can
go
see
ahead.
if you have another one, I can send it to them.
Francisco.
Are you telling me their other address?
No, I'm trying to look it up. I'm talking to myself. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's see if Francisco.
Okay, I found it. It's ONDO 45 at gmail.com.
All right, just sent a new one to him.
Okay, thank you.
I just forwarded the one I had sent to Marco. Oh yeah, I didn't even have that one.
it's rolling.
Yeah, looks like you got enough to get started.
So, Sherry, could you please kick us off with the tech facilitator spiel?
Yes. Welcome to our virtual meeting. If you lose connection at any point during the meeting, you can reconnect by clicking the link or calling the number in your original email. Members, if you are able, please activate your video for purposes of quorum and keep it on for the duration of the meeting. Staff, if you are able, please activate your video when you are speaking. All panelists, that is elders, committee, and staff, have the ability to mute and unmute themselves. Also, please continue to use the raise hand feature when you'd like to be recognized to speak, ask questions, or request a roll call vote. Lowering your hand will take you out of the queue. Members of the public who have registered to speak, the name you entered in Zoom must match the name you entered in registration. You will remain muted until called upon. The clerk will tell you when your time is up. After speaking, a member of the body may ask you a question. If you need to share documentation with the committee, please send it to the email listed on today's agenda. Thanks. Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So this meeting is governed by Robert's Rules of Order. All speakers wishing to address the committee regarding an agenda item must first complete the registration form online and submit it to the city clerk designee. Speakers may speak to the committee only after they're called by the chair. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. After speaking to the committee, you will, it says take a seat in the gallery, but clearly we have no gallery. It's all gallery. The public is not allowed to address or respond to speakers or committee members unless they've been recognized by the chair of the committee. Mr. Verbeek, do we have any notified absences?
Yeah, Ms. Farley emailed me about a half hour ago. It said she would not be here.
All right. I call this meeting of the ALRC to order at 5:39 p.m. Please call the roll.
Sure. Alder Miadzi? Alder Revere?
Here.
Alder Revere here. Mr. Brashuk?
Here.
Mr. Brashuk here. Dr. Reese?
Here.
Dr. Reese here. And Ms. Farley's excused. Mr. Donnelly?
Present.
Ms. Donnelly here. Ms. Westra?
Here.
Ms. Westra here. Alder Carter?
Present.
Alder Carter here. Mr. Fletcher?
Here.
Mr. Fletcher is here. Chair, we have quorum.
Wonderful. First item is approval of minutes from the meeting on September 21st. Committee, what's your pleasure?
I move approval.
I hear a
Second.
motion from Mr. Brashuk, second from Alder Carter. Any discussion of the minutes from September 21st? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none. Motion carries. Minutes from September 21st are approved. Next is minutes from September 28th. Committee, what's your pleasure?
Move approval.
Motion to approve from Mr. Fletcher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Alder Verveer. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none. Motion carries. The minutes from September 28th are also approved. Item 1, public comment. Mr. Verbeek, is there anyone registered for general public comment?
There is not.
All right, moving right along. Disclosures and recusals. At this time, members of the body should make any required disclosures or recusals under the city's ethics code. Are there any? I'm not seeing any hands. That brings us on to the consent agenda. So at this time, a consent agenda will be moved with a recommended action for each item. And any items where we have registrants opposed, wishing to speak, items that members of the committee separate out for discussion or debate purposes, or items recommending ordinance changes or operators license applications that have not been through the ALRC operators license review subcommittee will be removed from the consent agenda. Mr. Verbeek, will you please present the proposed consent agenda?
Certainly. So the proposed consent agenda for October 19th, 2022, recommend to council to grant operator license applications 4 and 5 were heard at the subcommittee, and they're recommended to the lead to grant. Item number 7, temporary Class B retailer concurrent with street use permits. Number 7, change of agent items number 8, 9, and 10. Business name change 11, and public hearing new license 27. The reason 27 is on here, the committee already approved Delicious Sir. They realized that they have a member of their other LLC that was approved that did not want to be involved with alcohol sales, so they made a new LLC, and it's essentially the same application, just minus one member of the LLC. So I put on the consent agenda. They did not have any conditions put on the other license.
Very good. Committee, are there any items on the proposed consent agenda that you would like to see separated? Absent that, I would entertain a Mr. Fletcher.
Move approval of the consent agenda as read.
Second. Second from Ms. Westra. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none, motion carries. The consent agenda is approved as proposed. So for those in attendance, Mr. Verbeek will once again read off the items on the consent agenda. If your item is on this list, that means that it has already been approved and you don't have to stick around here anymore. Mr. Verbeek.
So the past consent agenda for ALRC meeting October 19th, 2022, recommend the council to grant item number 4, operator license application, Kristen Fretchel. Number 5, operator license application, Garrison Funk. Operator item number 7, temporary Class B retailer concurrent with street use permit, Madison Festivals Inc. Event Madison Marathon. And number 8, change of agent, International Commons Inc. Number 9, change of agent, Quick Trip Inc. at 7502 Mineral Point Road. And number 10, change of agent, Quick Trip Inc. at 7717 Mineral Point Road. And number 11, business name change, Quick Trip Inc. Current DBA Tobacco Outlet Plus 514. New DBA Quick Spirits 514. And number 27, public hearing new license, Delicious Sir LLC. 931 East Main Street, number 7, Class B combination liquor and beer.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Verbeek. So moving right along. Item 2, operators license application for Kristen Teal. Assistant City Attorney Zelovy.
Hello. I just wanted to give a little reminder that if the committee determines to deny any license, be it an operator's license or a liquor license, if you could please reflect in your motion the supporting reasons for the denial, not just a blanket move to deny for health, safety, and welfare. Because if it ever gets appealed, I need to have an adequate record on appeal. And I mean, I can go back and try and piece together from videos and such what was said, but it's much cleaner and more appropriate if the person making the motion says, I wish to move to deny the license for public health, safety, and welfare reasons, to wit, and then specifically state the reasons behind your desire to move denial of the license.
Excellent. Thank you for that useful reminder, Assistant City Attorney Zelovy. Okay. Operator's license number 2, Kirsten Teal. Is Kirsten with us?
I do not see anyone registered for item number 2.
Committee, what's your pleasure?
Is this the first time?
I do not believe it is. I believe it is the 3rd time.
Move to place on file.
I hear a motion to place on file from Ms. Westra. Is there a second? Second from Dr. Reese. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none. Motion carries. Item 2 is placed on file. Item 3, operator's license application for Andrew Weber. Is Andrew here with us?
I also do not see a registration for this item.
In anticipation of the question, have we seen this individual on our agenda before?
I believe we have. Let me get you the number. This is the 2nd time it's come before the committee.
All right, committee, what's your pleasure?
Move for a referral.
I hear a motion from Ms. Westra to refer to the next regularly scheduled ALRC meeting. Is there a second? Second from Dr. Reese. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 4 is referred to next month's meeting. Item 6, operator's license application for Aaron Hofkees. Is Aaron here with us?
Aaron is here with us.
Excellent. Aaron, can you please state your name for the record? And then Captain Sanders, are you here with us?
Affirm.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Aaron Hofkees.
Excellent. Thank you. So, Captain Sanders, can you please let us know why Aaron's application was flagged?
Good evening, Aaron. I'm Captain Sanders with the City of Madison Police Department Central District. My role on this committee is to conduct a background check and reviewing supporting documentation that are contrary to the guidelines bound by ALRC in accordance with state statute. It is not my intent to cause embarrassment or belittle anyone. I reiterate, my role is to bring forward information discovered in the background process. In viewing your background during the process, one item of concern did come to my attention. The concern noted has been identified as a conflict pertaining to the license guideline and bounded by state statute. Guideline number 1 states the following: provided the circumstances of the offense as it substantially relates to the circumstances of the job or license activity, any person who has been convicted of any felony, unless duly pardoned, does not qualify for an operator's license. On January 22nd, 2017, you received a charge for possession of narcotic drugs by the Marshfield Police Department in Wood County. You later pleaded no contest to the charge, resulting in a felony conviction. You stated on your application as well that you believe this to be not fair. Aaron, this is your opportunity to speak to the committee about the convictions highlighted, as well as any treatment received or lessons learned throughout your process.
Yeah, thank you about not being belittling. With that said, I said not fair just because I felt I was being belittled. With that said, I paid out of pocket, my family and I, for 2 treatment facilities of upwards of $65,000, successfully completed both. Also, I go see a mental health specialist for mental health through my insurance at the UW Health, which I completed just last month again. I'd see them maybe once a year. And I'm an interim director for Hilton. I've worked my way through embarrassment after that fiasco, which was brought on from 6 years of 125 mics of prescribed fentanyl due to 16 invasive surgeries on my liver, which obviously led to the downfall and the circumstances that have brought me here for you today to explain what happened. I think in a nutshell, that expresses the background and what I've overcome and succeeded in to get to this point in my life.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Aaron. Committee members, what questions do you have for the applicant? Alder Carter.
Aaron, thank you for your honesty and directness. I do have a question regarding the disorderly conduct in 2021.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what was going on at that time?
Yeah, it was a toxic environment in regards to employees. It wasn't really a right fit for me, but I was still trying to strive forward in getting my foot in the door for a different career in regards to where I'm at now. With that said, it was toxic, and that my past was brought to light through social media, through employees there, that caused overwhelming friction within myself, which a mistake like that is just hard to overcome at times. And so I wasn't working, and I did have some drinks at work after I was done, and I did not eat all day. And so the embarrassment and the belittling that I had endured over the year obviously was released, I guess, verbally. There was no hostile intent. It was just, I think, an overwhelming amount of built up what I thought was shame, but later was brought to my attention that it was number of things through the lady that I spoke to at the UW Health for mental health, like care. I don't know. I know that seems a little vague, but it was just a lot of, it just wasn't a good fit. And I was shamed for a mistake that they had no idea for. And so with those feelings and alcohol involved, obviously turned into a regrettable, obviously, the 3 hour mistake, I guess.
Right. And can you tell me now where you are at, both mentally, physically? It seems like you've overcome a lot and you're on the other side.
For sure. Yeah. I've with the new job almost 2 years ago, haven't been this proud of myself in a long time. So I've got 3 promotions in 2 years. And in that first interview, I applied for the director of food and beverage, and I received a manager position. But in that first interview, even knowing that this might tarnish my chances of getting that job, within the first 2 minutes, I told him directly that, hey, I made a mistake. So if you do a background check, this is what you're going to find. But I told him that honesty is the greatest power of moving forward in life. And so I got the job, and now I'm interim director. So
congratulations. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Yeah.
All right, committee members, what additional questions do you have for Aaron? Mr. Bruchak.
Hi, Aaron. Thanks for being here. Are you currently using any alcohol or other drugs?
No drugs. I might have a beer here and there with my family when they come and visit, but I really don't have a lot of time. I work about 65 to 70 hours a week. And after that fiasco, it's not real prevalent in my mind to partake in that. Or it's not really an interest of mine.
Dr. Reese.
There are no more questions. I have a motion.
All right. Before you do that, Assistant City Attorney Brist.
Yes.
So this item was flagged due to state statutes. And I believe that if we're going to grant this license, we need to, there's some specific wording we didn't need in there, like that we don't find that this is substantially related or something like that. Sorry, my memory is a little hazy on it. Can you?
Well, that would actually be one of the reasons why the statute would not apply, is that the matter was not substantially related to the license that's being applied for. The other question is this person still under any kind of paper or on probation or anything?
Aaron, could you please answer Assistant City Attorney Brist's question?
Yeah, no, I finished my probation. They let me go early, and I never failed one urine test.
Okay, thank you. Then I guess the question would be if the committee feels that he has, in effect, rehabilitated himself since the incidents that occurred, or if the items don't substantially relate to the license being applied for.
Beautiful. Thank you. Dr. Reese, your motion?
I move to grant the license on the basis that both the applicant has rehabilitated himself and also that the acts that led to the charge do not substantially relate to the application.
I hear a motion. Is there a second? Second from Ms. Westra. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none. Motion carries. The license is granted. Congratulations, Aaron, and good call on all the honesty. That makes this all a lot easier.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Next up, we have an interpreter here for item 19, a new license application for Fuki Hot Pot. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
I didn't see them on earlier. I did email them again, and I still do not see them registered for it, so they're not here yet.
All right. In that case, why don't we go back to our regularly scheduled programming, and if they're here when we get to the item, excellent. We have item 12, which is an entity reorganization for Sundown Saloon, and also item 15, a change of licensed premises for Sundown Saloon. Do we have a registrant for one, the other, or both of these items?
We have a registrant for neither of those items.
Committee, what's your pleasure?
Move referral.
Your motion to refer items 12 and 15 to the next regularly scheduled ALRC meeting from Ms. Westra, second from Mr. Fletcher. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none, motion carries. That disposes of items 12 and 15. Item 13, change of licensed premises for Cafe Coda. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
We do not.
Committee, what's your pleasure?
How many times has this one's been before us before, correct?
This is the second time before us. I did just see him in the office a couple days ago, and we talked about his appearance.
Mr. Bruchak.
I move referral to the next regularly scheduled ALRC meeting.
All right, I hear your motion. Is there a second? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Alder Carter. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Seeing none, motion carries. Item 13 is referred. Item 14, change of license to premises for Local Motive. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
We do.
Excellent. Who've we got?
I think we have a registration for that. Let me see. Oh yeah, we do. Rob Schneider.
All right. Rob, can you please introduce yourself and let us know what the changes that you're proposing?
Hi, my name is Rob Snyher for Local Motive. The description of the changes are to expand from train car number 5 to include car number 4 with the same dimensions, approximately 900 square feet, private, and then also a private outdoor train platform area right along car number 4. That's about 400 square feet and fenced off from the adjacent private parking lot.
Excellent. Would the original licensed premises, the new outdoor space, and the new car be completely contiguous with one another? Would somebody have to leave the licensed premises to get from one spot to another?
You would, so the two cars are not contiguous. There's a short outdoor walkway between the two. And that walkway also connects to stairs, which go down to the platform area.
Okay. What are your plans regarding alcohol and that space between the cars?
If people are carrying alcohol out to the outdoor area, they would have to walk through that walkway and down the stairs. And we would be serving in plastic cups for the outdoor area. There would be, and to be clear, for car number 4, we're initially going to be using it just for storage. So no customers will be going into car number 4 for the time being. We just want to add it, use it for storage.
Gotcha. So for patrons moving between car number 5 and the outdoor area, if the stairs and the area are Assistant City Attorney Zelovy?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that last part?
You can continue. You can continue, Chair Donnelly. I just was curious whether the outdoor area had been licensed previously or not.
Gotcha. So we'll wrap back around to that. So Rob, if it is not legal for someone to carry alcohol out of your licensed premises, even if they're only going a short way to another licensed premises of yours or another part of it. There are 2 ways that you can deal with this. One is that you would have not allow patrons to do that, and only employees can move alcohol from one area to the other. The other would be to include the stairs and any other area in between as part of your licensed premises, which is fine from the committee's standpoint in general, but you would need to have a lease or some other document declaring that you have sole control over that space.
A lease from a landlord?
Well, from whoever owns the...
Right, okay. Yeah, our landlord. All right. I mean, that would be preferable, so I can follow up with the landlord.
Okay. Given that, would you like to amend your application to include the stairs and any other intervening space in between car 5 and the outdoor area, with the understanding, of course, that before this could go to Common Council, you would need to show the city clerk proof that you do indeed have sole control over that space?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Assistant City Attorney Zillivi has a question now.
Has that outdoor space been licensed previous to this?
Not as far as I know.
And do you know, is it a permitted use at that location?
Permitted use?
Well, are there any zoning restrictions?
Not that I know of. I've spoken with the fire inspector, Scott Strasberg, and he's okay. He's signed off on the plan, and I think he actually checked with zoning, and there were no issues.
Are you sure he checked?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, because I'm not sure why he would check with zoning, but that's something you should do because it may or may not be a permitted use. And even if the ALRC would grant the change of premise this evening, if it's not a permitted use under the zoning code, you wouldn't be able to use that area. So it's important that you get that cleared up.
So to be clear, I'm asking zoning if there's a permit.
If it's allowed, if you're allowed to use that outdoor area without applying basically to the Plan Commission for conditional use.
Okay, I will follow up with zoning then.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Assistant City Attorney Zillivi. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? Mr. Bruchak.
I don't think I have any more questions for the applicant. I was hoping to speak to the committee and explain what my feelings on this. Is that appropriate at this time, Chair?
Let me see if anybody else has questions first, so we can let the applicant, figuratively speaking, sit down. Alder Verveer.
Thank you, Chair Donnelly. Hi, Rob. Nice to hear your voice again. I just wanted to ask you generally before I ask something more specific. How is business going for you and Brian?
It continues to pick up.
And with this expansion, would the business plan remain unchanged, or it would be primarily focused on private events?
It would remain unchanged.
Am I remembering correctly? Obviously, it's been a few years since you were with us. We licensed you, as I recall, at the height of the pandemic a couple of years ago. Are you generally open to the public, or is it at this point been all for private events, your business so far?
We open to the public on Friday and Saturday evenings so far, if we don't have a private event on those nights. And then we have private events. We can have those at any time during the week. So both aspects of the business have been picking up. Like it's just steady growth, I would say. Slow and steady, but steady.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that positive results that you've had so far. Again, further curiosity, since obviously I represent this area on the city council. What is your crowd like on weekend nights? Do you have decent business on when you are open to the public?
Yeah, I mean, on weekend nights, we get good business. We get a lot of people from the Harvey House and Bandit Taco. There's a lot of locals, which fits in with our name. Locals meaning graduate students, postdocs, professors, some of the artists that are located in the lofts right beside us. And then people that are visiting, at the Hilton. And then we also get some of the sports fans when there are games at the Cole Center and at Camp Randall.
Well, that's great to hear. Yeah, I was just going to ask you, with the Cole Center now hosting the first men's hockey game of the season, did you have hockey crowd there then? For those
we didn't have a lot that day because we had an event going on at that time. So yeah, a little bit of a conflict there. But I should point out that we've also had a few art exhibits going on, which have been really well received and sold a number of pieces. And basically everybody who comes in the door loves the place. So we just need to get more heads in the door. That's all.
That's great. Well, I'll come by and visit you. I haven't been there. I haven't been there since you gave me the tour a couple of years ago. And speaking of your wonderful neighbors, Bandit and Harvey House. So in terms of the excellent guidance that Assistant City Attorney Zillaby just shared with you, I do want to give you a little more specific. So there is a conditional use permit for food and drink that Roger Charlie, obviously your landlord, secured some time ago that allows for the existing food and drink that's before it was covered and now it's covered and so forth. So I do want to emphasize and strongly recommend, Rob, that you do reach out to zoning staff at your earliest convenience to just ensure that the current conditional use permit that runs on the property for outdoor food and drink is valid for what you're intending to do with your new private patio. It might be that Roger Charlie might have to have a what's called a minor alteration to an existing conditional use permit to add your area to the underlying conditional use permit. Something where you need to circle back to me and I have to give my input to zoning on that if you indeed do need the so-called minor alteration. So anyway, just want to strongly encourage you to do that. Not that Scott isn't a wonderful guy and may have checked with zoning for you. I think it's incumbent on you to check as well. And you don't need to let me know what they say, but just if you do need a minor alteration, you'll need to get in touch with me. Is that understood, Rob?
Yes, I understand. When we asked Roger Charlie about this, he said he was all systems go for us doing the outdoor space. So maybe he didn't know the details of that conditional drink permit that you mentioned.
Yeah, it's called a conditional, if you want to write this down, conditional use permit. So under the zoning code. But the not to get into the weeds even more than I already have, but since the pandemic, the Common Council did amend the zoning code to be more permissive in this area in terms of if you agree to certain conditions, you don't have to go to the Plan Commission. But frankly, I think Roger Charlie, he had his approval as well before COVID. So the bottom line is you just need to check with the zoning staff, either by giving them a call or going to the basement of the Madison Municipal Building to the counter there and chatting with them in person. I'm sure, I have no doubt that Roger is very supportive of what you and Brian are doing. I have no doubt in my mind about that. And I'm certainly supportive myself. I just want to make sure you don't trip yourself up later unintentionally with the zoning code.
That's understood, and I appreciate all of this. I didn't really know the details about the zoning, so this is very informational. Thanks again, Alder Verveer.
You're very welcome. Yeah, I don't. Roger uses an architect, James McFadden, usually for the depot project. I don't know if you know him.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so you could also reach out to James McFadden if you'd like. And he's well versed in the zoning code. He handled, as I recall, the conditional use permit in the past for Roger for the other tenants there.
Great. Thank you again.
Oh, you're very welcome. Good luck with everything. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Thank you, Alder Verveer. Committee, what additional questions do you have for the applicant? All right. Thank you, Rob. Mr. Bruchak, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I think that it's the next steps for the applicant, checking with zoning, and was the fact that he has to submit the lease has been made abundantly clear. So I think if we recommend to council tonight to grant, he knows what to do, and we could add the we could say recommend to council contingent on him submitting his lease. So that's what I'm in favor of, and I'll move that.
I hear you. Do I hear a second? Second from Dr. Reese. Any discussion? Hearing none. Is there any dissent? Hearing none. Motion carries. Mr. Verbeek, is it sufficiently clear what things the applicant needs to provide you before this can go to Common Council?
Yeah, the applicant needs to provide us with a copy of the lease or some sort of letter from the landlord that says he has authority over the space between his two cars.
That he has sole control over that space.
Sole control, yeah.
Awesome. And that any use permit is in order. Okay, next up, item 16, change of licensed conditions for J and G Mini Market. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
Yeah, I believe Francisco Ondo is here for this item.
Excellent. Francisco, can you please state your name for the record and let us know what change you are proposing?
Hi, everyone. My name is Francisco Ondo. We would like to change item, not the item, but the restriction number 3, so we can be able to send alcohol products for 200 milliliters and less than that. The reason we are trying to upgrade it is because so far at this point, we are not able to sell those due to the restrictions that we got when we first applied for the license. But the customers around the area ask a lot for those sizes, given the fact that the 375s and open ones are considered big amounts, and sometimes they just want to have a drink. So they've been asking for us to be able to send those sizes, the 200 milliliters, I think it is, and the next one lower than that, I think, is the 125.
Excellent. Thank you, Francisco. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? Alder Carter.
Yes, Francisco, I think that your request was just to remove number 3. Correct?
Yes, that's what I mean. Just the condition number 3.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alder Carter. Committee, what additional questions do you have for the applicant? All right. Are there any other? Alder Carter?
Alder Carter, you're muted.
Oh, jeez. I was going to make a statement. I'm just waiting for the correct time. Am I still muted?
No, you're not. We heard that.
Oh.
You are welcome to make a statement.
It does look like there's another registrant. I don't know if you're waiting.
Okay, I'll wait.
Cool.
Yeah, Juan Gomez is also registered for this item, also in support.
All right. Juan, can you please state your name for the record and let us know what you have to say?
Juan, you're unmuted. Juan, you are unmuted on our end. You may have some kind of prompt on your end. *6.
So I'm here with Juan. It seems like his computer is having issues. Juan is the owner of the store. So do you guys mind if you just use my computer instead?
That is fine.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Juan, we can hear you. Can you state your name for the record and let us know what you have to say?
Es que como que se va la señal. Hello? Do you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. This is Juan Gomez. I am with Francisco now. ¿Sí está bien?
Hable, le escuchan.
Hello? Sorry, because I can hear you.
Ellos sí le escuchan. Nomás presente se diga que es Juan y que es el dueño de la licorería.
Bueno, hello, sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Solamente hable.
Okay. This is Juan and I am the owner of the store. Francisco is my assistant. He's helping me to translate or answer the question. You can make a question to him because I think so it's easier for me.
Juan or Francisco, is Francisco the agent of the store or
He's the manager.
Corporation?
Francisco is the manager.
We have the agent listed as Marco Flores.
Marco Flores, right.
But that's a different person, right?
Yeah, different person, right.
So we have a challenge here then, because we need the person we're talking to is the owner, the official agent, or a officer of the corporation that owns the business. And if somebody needs translation, we need that translation to be provided by someone employed by the city. That said, before we move on, how do we want to do this? I don't think we'll be able to actually dispose of this item tonight because of that, but we can discuss it a little bit first. So I would like to hear from Alder Carter first.
Yep, thank you. I was going to say that let's refer this to our next scheduled meeting. And Juan Gomez does need an interpreter. So Juan, you should request that, or Francisco request it on behalf of Juan, but we do need an interpreter for Juan.
And we will provide that. It won't cost you.
I'm just saying they need an interpreter for Juan, but we will provide that when you request it.
Okay. So I hear, is that a motion, Alder Carter?
Yeah, I know I went off the rails. You know how I am. I need
totally
a
fine.
GPS, but that is a motion.
All right. So I hear Alder Carter's motion to refer to the next regularly scheduled ALRC meeting. Is there a second?
I actually had my hand up. I was seconding it. Actually, I was going to call for the motion too, but my colleague is on top of it.
Excellent. So motion from Alder Carter, second from Alder Miadzi. Before we move on to vote about this, though, especially since I know we have some newer members, Alder Verveer, would you be willing to let us know where these container size restrictions come from and how widely they are applied?
Well, thank you for the question, Chair Donnelly. The genesis of these goes back many, many years, and those of us that have been on the committee for a long period of time know that these so-called standard Class A conditions have evolved over time. Without looking it up, I couldn't tell you the exact year, but there was a specific year many years ago now where industry representatives, the local beer and spirit distributors and representatives of downtown campus area liquor stores got together, and we drafted a series of conditions through a series of meetings that they could all agree to. And so that's why they are, as you see them, for my colleagues, see them in the packet, the license conditions for this particular establishment are fairly detailed and use language that, is not in our normal vernacular, such as domestic premium, the economy brands, that sort of thing. The intent for all that, by the way, is that there are certain types of beer that are not that only come in singles, and so it was to allow those to continue. But anyway, so they've been around for many, many years and are on, I believe, and perhaps the deputy city clerk can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they are these conditions are in every Class A license, generally from Regent Street Liquor Store through, I want to say Pincus McBride areas geographically, if my colleagues know where those two establishments are. So they certainly cover the whole core downtown campus area. And then the committee has also, on a case-by-case basis, included them on licenses in other areas that either at the recommendation of the alderperson of the district and or the local police district command staff have added these conditions. We recently had them for a liquor store in the East Town area. You'll remember that then we removed or modified those at the suggestion of the alder of the district after a 1-year time period or so had passed. So obviously Alder Carter represents this area, and she can speak for herself as to why the wisdom of including this on West Badger Road area on this particular license, if that's appropriate tonight, and there's an interest in that. I hope that answered the question.
It answered it perfectly. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
So, Alder Carter, the question for you is the circumstances that led to you recommending that we include these conditions on this license in your district. Have any of the underlying circumstances leading to that changed?
Yes, they have changed. Actually, this mini market has been worked very positive in the neighborhood, and also has worked with our South District MPD. And I have talked to the captain of that district, and he sees no reason to keep item 3, condition 3, I should say, on there. They have been, I will say, it's a breath of fresh air considering what we've been dealing with at this same location.
All right. Thank you very much, Alder Carter. So again, before you vote on this motion to refer, everyone, just like to put something out there for you to think about. The policy of the committee is that when we have an applicant that we're talking to, that if they need an interpreter, that we use an interpreter, and that we make sure that the person we're talking to is an official representative of the corporation. That is not arbitrary. That is so that when we make requests or ask questions or place conditions, that we can be confident that the applicant understands us and is able to communicate with us as needed. In this case, it is possible that there isn't anything that we need from the applicant, since it's merely a matter of removing a condition, and the Alder and police department are supportive. That being said, what is your pleasure? Ms. Westra.
I'd like to actually move approval instead of referral.
So we do need to dispose of the first motion first, unless Alders Carter and Miadzi would prefer to rescind their motion.
I am, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I am fine with changing my motion or removing my motion and replacing it with a motion to approve.
Alder Miadzi. All right, so maybe Alder Miadzi has stepped away. So the most straightforward thing then would be if we simply vote on the motion to refer, and if that motion fails, then Ms. Westra can make a new motion. Let's see. Would anyone who wants to refer, please raise your hand, in which case we'll do a roll call vote. Otherwise, I will record that we have voted against referral. So anyone in favor? Seeing none, motion to refer fails. Ms. Westra has moved approval. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Alder Carter. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none. Motion to grant item 16 has passed. So Francisco and Juan, congratulations, and you do not need to come back next month. Hope you have a good night.
Thank you. You have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. I need to deal with a upset animal. So, Mr. Fletcher, I'm going to hand you the baton. The baton. Wow, the gavel.
Sure, hand me anything virtually you like, Chair. Happy to do so. I think, Jim, that moves us on to item 17, if I'm correct, the 21 plus entertainment license for Hayes Place LLC, doing business as Hayes Place. Jim, do we have a registrant for this item?
We do, and it also goes with item 26, which is a new alcohol license.
Brilliant. And
Connie Jones is here.
Great. Connie, good evening. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Oh, fantastic, Connie. Well, why don't you sort of explain to the committee what you would like to do with both, I suppose, the liquor license and the 21 plus entertainment license?
Okay, great. I just want to start off by saying that I was before the committee last year around this time and was approved for my license, but encountered a zoning issue with the building that I had planned to lease. So this is my second go round. I plan to open a paint and sip lounge where people can come and be creative in a fun and relaxing environment. I will host several paint and sip events during the month, some instruction led and others where you can select a pre-drawn piece of art. Customers will be able to enjoy a glass of wine or mixed drink while they paint. My hours of operation, I plan to be open 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. during the week and 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. on the weekends. In addition to the paint and sips, I would also like to support local entrepreneurs by giving them a platform to promote their skills through poetry, art, music, food, and more. I plan to host poetry and comedy shows, pop-up shops, and networking events. So that's what I plan to do.
Connie, thank you very much. I'll ask my colleagues on the committee, are there any questions for Connie? Alder Miadzi.
Hello, Connie. It's
Hello.
a great honor to actually hear about this project. And I'm just wondering, did you, what outreach have you done so far? Have you outreached the alder in the district? Just wondering what they might have thought about it.
Yes. So I spoke to Alder Abbas, and he was in support of the business. I also spoke to Captain Donahue, and her only concern was that I had a security plan. So what I did was I provided her a copy of my business plan and added a section for my security plan, which includes hiring security for larger events, and also plan to have security cameras throughout the space. I did reach out to the neighborhood association several times, but never received a response.
Okay. I'm glad that you did that outreach. I actually did painting with Jacqueline Hunt, and it was very fun doing that. So thank you for
I just want to bring something different to the community.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Let me take the Deputy City Clerk. Jim, anything on your end?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that when the applicant said that she had applied and granted previously and run into a zoning issue, that was for a different location than the one that's being applied for today.
Yes.
Thanks.
Different
I was
location.
going to double check, so thank you. Attorney Zilovey.
Hello, I just have a question on your entertainment application. You say the type of live entertainment will be poetry and comedy shows.
Yes.
So if that's what it is, you don't need an entertainment license. Are you anticipating something other than that?
I was told that I would need one if I was going to have amplifier or music.
Well, you wouldn't need it just for amplification, but if you're having music as entertainment, you would need one.
Yes.
So are you planning on doing more than the poetry and comedy shows?
I would like to have music.
Okay. And if you have music events, will they be after 9 p.m. in the evening?
I would want to be able to be open until either 11 or 12.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Reese.
Thank you. Hi, Connie. I'm excited to see you back.
Yes,
I liked the model the first time, and I was really sad to see when that zoning thing hit. So I'm glad you're back and ready to go.
Yes, I didn't give up.
Yeah, because we definitely need more things like this around. Just to clarify the assistant city attorney's question, I'm assuming your entertainment would be like your poetry and comedy shows would have music mixed in or a DJ to go along with the event. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then one thing, I'm just looking at your explanation here. One thing that some people miss a lot, I know you said that there's a open parking lot with a lot of spaces. One thing in security plans people sometimes miss is having someone outside to monitor the parking lot. So I'm not sure, did you add that into your security plan?
I believe I may have added some verbiage on the security monitoring the parking lot and the restrooms.
Okay, excellent. That's all I have. Thank you.
Super. Thank you very much, Dr. Reese. Further questions for the applicant? Alder Mianti, then Alder Carter.
I'll refer to my colleague first, Carter, go first before I go.
Well, I might have missed it, but Corrine, are you the owner?
Yes.
Okay. Because on here it says manager. That's why I'm asking.
Yes, owner and manager.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Alder Mianti.
Move to approve.
And clarification for both items 17 and 26, correct?
Yes, combine both items.
Sounds good. I saw a second from Dr. Reese. Further discussion? Any dissent? Please signify so by raising your hand. Seeing none, both items 17 and 26 are approved. Thank you very much, Connie. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Chair Donnelly, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chair. My cat managed to get out off of our screened-in back porch on Friday, and he does not understand why he isn't allowed out there again until I can reinforce it. Next up is item 18, new license application for Sunny Fa. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
Miss Kim is registered, but I don't see.
So we do have an unknown attendee. We can unmute them and see if that's
yes,
Coach
please.
Kim. Looks like our unknown attendee is unmuted. You should have a prompt to unmute yourself if you could let us know what item you're here for. Okay, looks like they're not unmuting themselves. There you go.
Okay. You can hear me?
Yes, can you let us know what item you're here for? Hello?
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you. If you'd like to let us know what item you're here for.
18.
Okay.
Sunny phone, yeah, I've been last hour.
Perfect.
All right. So can you please state your name for the record and tell us about your proposed business?
Yes, my name is Kuch Kim, Khouch Kim, and for Sunny Pho LLC at 602 South Park Street. So I need liquor and beer, only like 15% alcohol and the rest of food.
Right. Can you tell us, is this a business that is already up and running?
Yeah, it's running in a hard time, the last 2.5 years.
Okay. Could you please tell us a little bit about the restaurant?
Restaurant mostly the Asian food like noodle, pho, like small menu, only like 18 items. Look like fast food. I just come in and eat noodle. And some people they like some, little beverage, which I don't have right now.
Okay. And how will it change with the addition of alcohol?
What do you mean? Like, it's really not many people ask, but I just want to have it Some they request if I have any beverage,
Gotcha.
which I don't have right now. Yeah, only
Okay.
like
Thank you.
once every 2 weeks. They just ask if I have any. I don't know, not yet. I don't have any.
Gotcha. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? Mr. Fletcher.
Mr. Chair, and maybe this is a question for Jim before we just proceed. With this item last month, I remember sort of the reason why we referred it, and Jim, that's part of your email, but the interpretation piece of things, Jim, did we, I think that was part of the discussion last month in terms of indicating a need for an interpreter. And I do see sort of an interpreter label or in the participant sort of area. I didn't know if that was related to this item or from something previously.
No, the interpreter is requested for item number 19, our next item. I did ask this applicant if she needed an interpreter, and also, if you recall, last month there was a question on whether the applicant was filing as an LLC or a sole proprietorship. And she did come in today and provide documentation to show that she is filing as an LLC. It's a sole member LLC, but it is an LLC. There was never a request at any time in my inquiry or when she appeared at the office today for an interpreter.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that sort of loop was closed on both fronts since our conversations last month. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Committee, what additional questions do you have for the applicant? All right. Are there any other registrants for this item?
No, there are not.
In that case, committee, what's your pleasure? Mr. Fletcher.
I'd move approval with resolution of the issues that the issue in particular that we discussed last month.
You're saying you are moving approval because that was resolved?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, great. So nothing that remains to be done. All right, we've heard a motion to grant. Do I hear a second? Mr. Bruchak?
Second.
Excellent. And now Assistant City Attorney Zellaby.
I'm sorry, I was reading something else. Are we still on 18?
Yes.
On the application, is this in the name of an LLC or not?
It's a single member LLC.
Okay, well that, the information should still be filled out on the application, even though it's a single member LLC.
Which information specifically?
I'm sorry?
Which information specifically?
Well, under section C, the corporate information. Section C is completely blank.
All right. Jim, how have we handled this in the past? Is this something that's appropriate for the applicant to take care of between now and a council meeting?
I think if that's what the committee wishes, I mean, that's something that can be done, as much as submitting documentation that's requested for any other thing.
Assistant City Attorney Zellaby, thank you for bringing that to our attention. Do you have additional questions, comments, or concerns?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Verveer.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to raise the same point as I, very clearly recall our conversation last month at this time, and do apologize to the applicant that she had to return and delay her application, by several weeks now. I was hoping that we could, as we kind of traditionally have, although this is more questions than normally do, but amend on the record, through if need be, a colloquy with the applicant, that in section A, the box check should be limited liability company, And similarly, as Attorney Zillaby said, for Section C, the corporate information, if we could just, dispense with that right now and have that information gleaned from the applicant and have that amended on the record here. Obviously, maybe all of you didn't see, but the Deputy City Clerk did email the committee a few minutes ago with the proof of the LLC paperwork from the Department of Financial Institutions. And if I could just ask you, Jim, am I correct from the email that you received from your colleague, Nikki Perez, that it sounds like she did not have the applicant amend the application in writing at the counter at all? It was just submitting that DFI information, and that was it?
Correct. I wasn't there today, and Nikki didn't know that there was missing information from the application.
I think and one other question, if I could, Jim, one other question, or I think all the questions that need to be completed on the application, I think perhaps are all known to us, including in the DFI annual report that for this LLC that you just emailed us. Does that seem correct? Do you believe we have all the information we need, and could we just amend it on the record here?
We might be able to. I have to check the appointment of agent form that she submitted to see if I can get questions 13, 14, and 15 off of it.
I thought we could ask her quickly, is what I'm suggesting, rather than have the applicant have to come into the office. But Chair, I'll leave that to you and the committee as to what you think is most efficient.
I think it is perfectly reasonable for you to ask the applicant whatever questions you'd like, and that spending 2 minutes on it now is likely to be less time than would be spent on it later.
Thank you. Jim, would you mind doing that and just asking whatever questions you think you don't have the information for already? You don't mind? Otherwise, I could do it, but you'd be the one taking the notes, so I thought it would be easier if you just do it.
Sure, I can do it.
Thank you.
I do have the application, right? The appointment of agent application right now. So I do have the answer to let's see, question 15. Ms. Kim, you're the liquor beer agent for this license, correct?
Ms. Kim, you're unmuted on our end.
Cannot hear.
Ms. Kim, you're going to be the liquor beer agent for this license, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And you reside in Madison, Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Okay. How long have you continuously lived in the state of Wisconsin?
How long I say that again?
Have you lived in Wisconsin?
How long I live in Wisconsin?
Correct.
Over 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 20 years. Over 20 years.
Okay. And you are the only member of the LLC?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think I have all the questions I need.
Excellent. Good idea, Alder Revere. All right. We have a motion to grant and a second, and we've got an in-order application. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none. Motion carries. Item, I lost my thing for a second. Item 18 is granted. So next up, item 19, new license application for Fuki Hot Pot. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
I still do not see a registered for this item. I did send another email to the applicant.
Committee, what is your pleasure? Mr. Fletcher.
I would move referral to our next regularly scheduled meeting at this stage.
All right, here a motion to refer. Is there a second? Second from Alder Miadzi. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 19 is referred. And where is our interpreter? Bowen? Thank you for your time. Apparently, we don't have anybody for you to translate tonight, but I hope you a good rest of your night.
Thank you.
Item 20, new license application for Caspian Grill. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
Yes, Eamon is here for this item.
Excellent. Eamon, can you please introduce yourself and describe your proposed business?
Good evening. My name is Eamon Bojunashvili. You guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Eamon Bojunashvili. I'm from Caspian Grill. I opened up on a second location. My first location is by Woodman's area. It's in the first Caspian Grill. I opened the second location for little bigger capacities. A lot of customers requested for me open up in a bigger space.
That is definitely a good thing to have your customers asking. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Aaron, does the other Caspian, can you talk a little bit about your plans for sort of live entertainment under question 26? And have you filed an entertainment license at all application?
Yeah, so what we're doing for eternity, we got during the week we're playing the piano, and on Friday and Saturdays try to play in music, live music.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you filed for an entertainment license? And maybe I should ask the deputy city clerk that fact, a separate application.
I don't believe I have another application for them for entertainment.
No,
license.
we don't have any application apply for this because nobody requests me. So we got approved from landlord. We send it to landlord, and the landlord approved for me, and that's it. And then we talk to the clerk, and that's about this. And nobody told me we need to apply for that.
Yeah, I'll sort of, if I think one of the things that you want to do, right, is have a DJ according to your application, correct?
Yes.
Then I think, unless the chair or others, have other information, you will need to file an entertainment license application that is a separate application from this related to specifically. This is specifically for the alcohol license. Your other location doesn't have an entertainment license, right? As I think about it.
No, I have it only in 25 cities at capacity, and no liquor license. Yeah. It's no internet. No.
Okay. Just to, like I said, a point of information or clarification. I think that's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Committee, what additional questions do you have for the applicant? All right. Mr. Verbeek, do we have any other registrants for this item?
We do not.
Committee, what is your pleasure? Mr. Bruchak.
I move approval.
Hear a motion to grant. Do I hear a second? Second from Mr. Fletcher. Any discussion? Dr. Reese.
I just wanted to mention to make it clear that the applicant will need to file an entertainment license before doing live music.
Okay. Eamon, does that, you got that?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes, I get it. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Reese. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 20 is granted. That brings us to item 21, new license for Dave's Hot Chicken. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
Ronald Stokes is here, registered for this item.
Ronald, can you please introduce yourself and tell us about your proposed establishment?
Yes, hi, my name is Ron Stokes, and I am the owner of this new restaurant that we're bringing to Madison on East Washington. It's franchised out of LA. We've opened 2 in Milwaukee. Excited to come to Madison. It's a Nashville hot chicken concept, simple menu, chicken tenders and fries, and we want to provide the option to sell a few beers as well. It will be a low % of overall revenue, but the brand encourages us to do that.
Excellent. Thank you. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? All right. Mr. Verbeek, do we have any other registrants for this item?
We do not.
Committee, what is your pleasure?
Move approval.
Motion to approve from Ms. Westra, second from Mr. Fletcher. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, is there any dissent? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 21 is granted. So, item 22, new license for Antlers. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
Kathy Perez is here for this item.
Excellent. Kathy, can you please introduce yourself and describe your proposed establishment?
Hi, my name is Kathy Perez, and I am proposing to open back up the Antlers Tavern. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. The new name will be the Antlers Pub. I'm opening up the place for friends and family to come and gather to enjoy lunch specials. Hoping to increase our food menu and watching sports games, shooting pool, darts, maybe playing the game of euchre. Giving the historical building a little TLC and opening it up and making it all a good time for everybody.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? Mr. Fletcher.
Kathy, two maybe questions for you. One, are there going to be any sort of operational differences between sort of how the Antlers Pub operated before versus now? I know you mentioned some of the maybe capital sort of changes in terms of the appearance, etc. But any operational differences?
Yes, we probably will be shutting down at midnight. We will have all licensed bartenders on duty. We hope to really increase our menu, hoping to serve breakfast eventually. We will have security cameras inside and out. And it will be very well secured, and we will not put up with anything disrespectful to the building or the people in the building. We are here to provide a really friendly, safe environment for people to enjoy themselves.
And how did the kind of required information session go?
Oh, nobody showed up, but I did meet with Alder Carter. I met with some of the neighbors, and it seemed to be really good. Everybody is really excited and wants to be open. A lot of places have gone out over there, so it's kind of a good place to be, a good local place, a neighborhood place for people to congregate.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Alder Miadzi, then Alder Carter.
I'm sorry, I forgot to lower my hand. I was going to ask for the, I guess Fletcher already mentioned a question, and also I wanted to hear from the Alder herself. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right, thank you.
Right, thank you, Alder Miadzi. Alder Carter.
Yes, thank you. The Antler Bar has been in this neighborhood since the dinosaurs roamed. And I believe that the Antler Pub will bring a facility to the current era. Let me put it that way. I did talk to Kathy Perez, and I did inform the neighborhood that it was going to reopen. Like many of our businesses that has not survived very well during the pandemic. I am happy that the Antler Pub has risen from the ashes. And Kathy has worked there for 8 years, so she knows the neighborhood and she knows the clientele. Thank you. And I move approval if we're at that point. If not, I'll hold it.
I think that's fine. We've got a motion to grant from Alder Carter. Is there a second? Alder Miadzi?
I think we got more than just me, but yeah, I'll move to approval.
Okay, so second Alder Carter's motion. Discussion. So I saw Alder Verveer first, but anyone else is, or I'm sorry, I guess I saw Alder Miadzi first. Do you have discussion, or is your hand up from before?
Just a second.
Awesome.
Carter's motion, please.
All right, Alder Verveer, then Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you, Chair. I do have a question for the applicant, and that is hello, Kathy. My question is about your response to what the licensed premises would be, and on your application, you stated 150 persons, both indoors and outdoors. Can you confirm, is that correct? Is the outdoor area that large? That would be
the outdoor area is a parking lot that holds a lot of cars, that is owned by Homer Simpson. That's and if we were to have a function, of course, that would mean outside. But as far as 150 people outside at one time, no. I'm talking the cars, the parking lot, and that's it.
Thank you. Let me back up. So when we asked you to, in your application, to describe what would be the licensed premise where you would store and serve and alcoholic beverages and your patrons would consume them. For outdoor area, you say, quote, smoking area will allow patrons to exit outside door for designated smoking area. Is it your intention that they would be able to have their alcoholic beverages out in that area then?
No, I would not allow alcohol outside. It would be a designated smoking area only, and the bar is the only place that could have the alcohol in the bar. I'm not going to allow alcohol outside in the parking lot, in the smoking area. If people want to go out and smoke, they can go smoke.
Right.
That would be it.
Well, that sounds good to me. So would it be okay? So it's question number 8, by the way, if you made a copy of your application and you have it in front of you. But for question number 8, it sounds like you're saying that you would agree to remove from your application the phrase, I'll just say, starting with the word parking and smoking area will allow patrons to exit outside door to designate smoking area. It's okay with you if we remove all that, if that tonight through this meeting you strike that series of words, a sentence or so, because the question only relates to where would alcoholic beverages be stored, served, consumed.
Yes, absolutely, I agree.
Okay, very good. And then related to that, your license capacity then outdoors would be 0 in question number 9. So
right, yes, it would be. Yes.
Okay, no worries that you didn't understand what we were asking on these things. That's fine. So then lastly, in terms of the capacity, and obviously as Alderperson Carter just shared, you've been a staff member there for a long time, and I always love to see applications like this where the staff are able to purchase the business and keep it going. So am I correct that the license capacity, the years that you worked there indoors, was always 150 persons?
It was all the times I was there. I worked under Homer Simpson, so as far as I knew, but the capacity never reached that level, I guess I should say, at one time.
Do you remember seeing a sign, a city issued sign saying what the capacity is from our?
It was above the front door.
Pardon me?
It was above the front door. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it sounds like 150 is probably correct. Our deputy city clerk can confirm if he had contrary information from the last time the license was active for this address. But anyway, that sounds fine with me. And as you, in case you don't know, but you probably do because you've done your homework and probably received the brochure that people have available to them that are applicants. When you do go through the inspection process, once we've granted the license, that will involve the fire department and building inspection and so forth. So they'll be the ones that will actually confirm what your maximum capacity would be from their perspectives. So the number that we include tonight in our motion, would be actually though the absolute most that you can have, even if building inspection or fire says you could have 500 people in there, which I know would never fit, and you don't have restrooms for that. But anyway, so you know what I mean, and I certainly wish you the best of luck.
I do. Thank you very much, and I understand that.
Great. Thank you again. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alder Revere. Assistant City Attorney Zillevi.
Thank you. During this discussion about the 150 outside, I thought I heard you mention that not unless you had an event outside. So I was just going to let you know that if you do have an event outside where alcohol is served, you have to come back and apply for an expansion of your licensed premise. It can be just for that day, but you can't do that outside without it being licensed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Assistant City Attorney Zilovey. Mr. Fletcher.
Just a question for the Deputy City Clerk or yourself. Are there any prior conditions on Antlers?
There are not. This was a very old license, like predates Legistar. In order to even find the description of the premises from before, I had to find the description from when we renewed it, and it's a little sparse. There were not any conditions.
Thank you.
Mr.
Yeah, the old license number was 78-184. That's the only one I've seen that has two numbers in the first dash and the first set of numbers. I was going to say that I looked up the last renewal form for the previous license, and they listed 99 as their indoor capacity.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Verbeek. Alder Verveer, then Alder Carter. Alder Verveer.
Thank you, Chair. So back to you, Kathy, then with that information that the last capacity was 99. That probably is the correct number. Let me ask you this. Is Antlers sprinklered for fire protection?
I don't believe so. No.
Yeah, I would be surprised probably if you were too. So the fire inspector will tell you that you can't have a capacity over 99 unless you're sprinklered. They won't grant it over 99 persons.
Okay.
So if that sounds good to you, I don't think this is in controversy, just like you agreed to my earlier question to remove the 150 for outdoor. Are you fine with us amending your application here for indoor capacity of 99?
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. And just a friendly reminder to you, Jim, to please amend this in what your Legistar caption, so it'll read 99 and 0 in Legistar when this is on the Common Council agenda. Thank you again, Kathy. Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Carter. Alder Carter.
I was just going to ask for the 99 to be placed on the application. Alder Revere already done that. Thank you.
Wonderful. Committee, what additional questions, comments, discussion, or so on do you have? Mr. Verbeek, I apologize. I lost track of things. Do we have a motion before us?
We do. Alder Carter made a motion to recommend a council to grant, seconded by Alder Mianzi.
All right. Is there any further discussion of this motion? Alder Carter.
Wanted to know if you wanted me to add those two things in the motion. That would be fine.
Which
for the application.
No, Mr. Verbeek has already amended.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Of course. So any further discussion? Hearing none. Is there any dissent? Hearing none. Motion carries. Item 22 is granted. All right. Next up, item 23, which is a new license for Edgewood College. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
Kevin Gilligan is here for this item.
before we get to you, Kevin, Jim, does Edgewood already have a license? Or did they return that?
I believe this is a new vendor is taking over. Are you asking?
I see. Okay. Kevin, can you please introduce yourself and describe what's going on?
Yes. Hello, Kevin Gilligan. You are correct. There's a new vendor. Chartwells or Compass Group was the vendor we took over as of July of this year. And we are applying for a liquor license simply for catering. One thing we did notice on the agenda is that it says 97% alcohol, 3% food. It's actually the opposite would be correct. 3% alcohol maybe and 97% food. So the alcohol would simply be for catering events on campus.
Excellent. Good. I was just reviewing the description of the premises, and it is significantly more targeted. For anyone who remembers from before, Edgewood had to come for a change of licensed premises because they realized it was a bad idea to have the entire campus be their licensed premises. So I'm glad that this one's a little bit more specific. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? Dr. Reese.
This might actually be for someone else, but the application notes that they don't plan to do live music except in the case there might be a wedding. But for private events, they don't need an entertainment license, is that? Or do they need one to do something like that?
Assistant City Attorney Brist.
I actually would need to check the ordinance again, but my understanding would be that they would need a license. As a licensed establishment, they need a license to have music. If they have the kind of music that's required by the license, it's not a piano player or a soloist or something like that.
Okay, so
we probably should advise them that they should apply for an entertainment license.
okay, great. Does that make sense to you, Mr. Gilligan?
Yes, I can actually advise the college. My contact with the college, we're simply food and beverage for those events. They book the events, we just service them.
Okay, and it would be in the case of things like having live bands or DJs are the kinds of things that require entertainment licenses.
Yes, I will make them aware tonight.
And to clarify, you will need to be the one that holds the entertainment license as the alcohol license holder. They can be the promoter and the booker and stuff like that, but the entertainment license would have to be under Sodexo.
Under the license holder, yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Reese and Mr. Verbeek. Committee, what additional questions do you have for the applicant? Oh, and thank you, Assistant City Attorney Brist. All right, Jim, do we have any other registrants for this item?
We do not.
All right, committee, what's your pleasure? Ms. Westra?
Move approval.
Your motion to grant, second from Alder Verveer. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 23 is granted. Item 24, new license for Merch Masala. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
We do. Google Sealwell is here.
Excellent. Can you please introduce yourself and let us know about your proposed business?
Hi, I'm Gokul Silwal. So we start business from almost 11 or maybe 12 years old, 12 years. We start from around the capital. So we stayed 3 years on there and we moved state to state down there 8 years. And they don't renew our leads and we moved down here, west side. So we have old liquor license, but they are not transferable or the removable, but so that's why we apply for new license.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? All right. Jim, do we have any other registrants for this item?
We do not.
Committee, what's your pleasure? Mr. Fletcher.
I would move approval.
All right, here, a motion to grant from Mr. Fletcher. Is there a second? Second from Alder Miadzi. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 24 is granted. Item 25, new license for hot lunch. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
Roger Bartz is registered for this item.
Hello.
Yep.
Hello, Roger. What is your role in this business?
I'm an owner and I am the front-facing operational manager.
Perfect. So can you please introduce yourself and tell us about this proposed business?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, my name is Roger Bartz. I am one of 3 owners who will be on site every day, front-facing managerial operations, running a very simplistic and positively aimed sandwich shop on East Johnson Street, 708 and a quarter in the former Hone and forequarter space. We have been actually operational for just over a week, but we are applying for our liquor license just to have the ability to offer, another facet of service if desired. We are no way, shape, or form trying to be a tavern. Our hours daily are 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. I believe so far, I do want to put in that, long-time listener, first-time caller. This is our first time going forth with a venture as entrepreneurs. So I just do want to kind of go through the checklist because I do believe that I completed all of our diligence and communicated well with everybody. We did just hold our neighborhood association informational session last week, and it just came across my desk that I think Tyler Lark forwarded you a letter with no opposition representing the neighborhood association for Tenny Lapham. Yeah. In addition to me being here with y'all tonight, first of all, thank you for granting me the opportunity to speak with you on the floor. I do have my appointed agent, Troy Knight, as well. So if there are any questions, please let me know.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Roger. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? All right. Do we have any other registrants for this item?
We do not. As I raise my hand, this isn't a question for the applicant, but I was notified by police records earlier this week that one of the members, Roger, was flagged on his background check report, and they're still waiting some records from, I think, Sheboygan.
Yep, that would be me. And I think, I've divulged all of that information. In fact, I paid for a pretty legitimate background check to provide it all as accurately as possible. Everything dates back further than a decade. I definitely had a rough departure from my adolescence. But one thing I can say to that accord is that, hospitality kind of got me out of that. And I'm really proud to say that I'm, in the position I am now to be here in front of you, applying for something that I think is going to positively affect our neighborhood.
All right. Thank you, Roger. Committee, what additional questions, comments, anything do you have? Motion would also be in order. Dr. Reese?
Just a question about logistics then. Is there anything that we would need to do given that information, or would that just happen behind the scenes? We can decide what we want.
Assistant City Attorney Brist.
My reaction is that the committee would have some potential duties. If I'm surprised that we haven't been contacted by MPD to tell us that somebody didn't pass a background check or that it was pending. Does Captain Zanders know about this?
I mean, MPD did tell me that the background check was flagged, and they were still awaiting records from Sheboygan County. So they weren't sure if this one would be ready for approval today, as they're still waiting on those records.
I think that it takes the committee's action to deal with that issue. And so to move it ahead, we either need to try to deal with it right now, which I don't know if it's practical because we don't know what the offense is. And otherwise, we may have to refer.
So the applicant said that he did provide a copy of a background check. Do we have that information?
I do have the stuff they submitted. I can look to see what exactly was said.
What I'm just thinking is, if we act based on that information, and when Captain Sanders gets the rest of the information, it turns out to be exactly the same, then any action that we took would have been reasonable. If it turns out that it doesn't match up, then we'd probably have to talk more about it. Assistant City Attorney Zillaby.
I understand.
It looks like you remuted.
Oh, I understand you're not wanting to hold this up, but I agree with Steve that if there's background information that's pending that we know the police department is trying to obtain records, I don't think it would be appropriate for the committee to do anything other than refer this at this point.
Makes sense. Alder Verveer.
Thank you, Chair. Same topic, unfortunately, and with apologies to the applicant. I was excited for your application. Hot Lunch has received a lot of very favorable media coverage, as you are aware. But a couple of things. One, I don't know if Captain Zanders has been able to access records yet, or if he's aware of what the records clerks have discovered. But I think his input tonight is critical on this question. And then I also was going to agree with your suggestion, Chair Donnelly, that if we can, we proceed tonight, if possible. I haven't looked in CCAP, so obviously CCAP is something that we have as an option. But I was also going to ask you, Jim, to please email to the committee the background information that you have to us now, as well if we think we can dispose of this evening. If not, we'll have to refer it for another month. Lastly, I was going to suggest that we might table this item, Chair, and move on to agenda item number 28 to allow time for Captain Zanders and the Deputy City Clerk. Well, it looks like the Deputy City Clerk already emailed us the information, but to give us time to consume the information and give the Captain more time to see what he can learn for us. So with that said, I would, unless there's strong objections, I would move to place this agenda item on the table for now.
All right, I hear a motion to table item 25, new license for hot lunch. Do I hear a second for that motion?
I was going to refer it, but I would always respect my colleagues' opinion, so I'll definitely second the motion to table it.
All right, we've got a motion from Alder Verveer, a second from Alder Miadzi to table this item. Hear from Captain Zanders and then Assistant City Attorney Zellaby. Captain Zanders.
Well, this is typically not like how I would like to handle things. I think tabling wouldn't do any justice, being that I don't have all the documentations in front of me, and I would really like to be thorough when I do a background check or research on anything. I would like to acknowledge Roger for initially reaching out to me. We played a bit of game of phone tag. However, right now, I just don't have all the information to give you an informed decision on or give you an informed, I guess, weigh in on how I feel about this issue.
Chair, is it okay to, given what Captain Zanders just said, it would be all right to see if we can refer it rather than tabling it?
We do have a motion and a second. And how do I put this?
We need to get rid of the first motion in order to proceed with the second one, right?
Right. And it is absolutely Alder Verveer's prerogative to move forward with this action. So
let him speak to it.
We've received, Alder Verveer.
Thank you. I'll withdraw my motion, but with that said, if I could just ask Captain Zanders, is there a backlog currently in records for backgrounds right now? Obviously this application was filed several weeks ago before the deadline for tonight's meeting. I just am wondering why we only found out today, if I'm understanding the Deputy City Clerk correctly, that this was being flagged and that we were waiting for additional information from Sheboygan County.
The background check did go. I did send it a little later than usual to MPD, so they did not have as much time. They probably had a week or two less than they typically do in starting the background check.
I see. Well, thank you for taking responsibility, Jim. I appreciate that. Yeah, so Chair, again, I withdraw my motion to place upon the table. It's unfortunate, but it looks like we have at least one felony conviction based on what was emailed to us as voluntarily disclosed by the applicant, and we'll unfortunately have to refer this, it seems.
Is that a motion to refer, Alder Verveer?
I will go ahead and do that, even though Alder Miadzi was going to do that in any event, so he can second it, I guess.
I'll second.
All right. Motion from Alder Verveer to refer to our next regularly scheduled ALRC meeting. Second from Alder Miadzi. Dr. Reese.
Yeah, just for discussion, just the usual comment that this is one of those things where we're bound by state law to look at things, even though they happened quite a while in the past, and it's unfortunate that folks have to divulge that kind of thing when it's been that way for a long time. But just to make it clear that it is state law that requires us to look at this so closely. So I'm hoping that we see this back next time.
Excellent. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, is there any dissent? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 25 is referred to next month's ALRC meeting. Sorry about the delay, Roger. My partner, Laura, is sad because she was looking forward to there being another restaurant in our neighborhood. So we'll look forward to seeing you back next month. Next up is item 28, new license application for Madison Axe. Do we have a registrant here for this item?
We have two, Kyle Van Abel and Brandon Long are both registered for this item.
All right. Can you please introduce yourself and describe the proposed business?
Hello, my name is Kyle Van Abel, and as Jim just said, Brandon Long is also on this meeting. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. So for Madison Axe, it's an axe throwing facility that we are proposing, and in addition to that, there's other games such as deck shuffleboard, yard games, cornhole, giant yard pong, ladder toss, and other basically forms of entertainment. And speaking for myself, I own a place called Appleton Axe Throwing, and it's kind of a continuation of that business model that we have in Appleton, looking to bring that to Madison. It's kind of a new twist or new gamification, if you will, to axe throwing, in that we project our targets onto the wall per se, onto the targets, and with that, there's a lot of software options that allow us to have interactive games, digital scoring, and pretty soon, like in the next month, auto detection, so self-scoring basically. And it's a very new approach to axe throwing. It's been very popular in the last 5 to 10 years. Appleton, we opened right in the middle of the pandemic, so now coming on 2 years. And we've found pretty good success, and we're family fun first, in that we allow from ages 12 and up, and it's focused on axe throwing basically. And our proposal for the Class B beer license is to have the option to also provide a drink or two to our guests while they're enjoying their stay.
So I have 2 questions. The first is, are these like actual real axes with axe heads?
Correct.
Wow. Okay. Like taking lawn darts to the next level. Where in Appleton are you?
We are. Oh, go ahead.
I used to live in Appleton,
So we took on the space formerly occupied by Barstools Direct, which is 1400 West College Ave. So we're about 3/4 of a mile west of downtown Appleton. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
I am. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? Mr. Fletcher.
Kyle, just following on the kind of Appleton location. I mean, how similar operationally is this sort of venture compared to your Appleton location in terms of capacity? Anything sort of you learned there that you're going to bring into the sort of the way that you run the Madison location?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not a complete copy and paste, but the facility in Appleton is about 6,500 square feet. It has 12 axe throwing lanes, an escape room, 2 official size deck shuffleboard lanes, which we won't be official in Madison just because of space. And I think they're 57 feet long. And then from the axe throwing games and software, all that comes along. And, from a vision and mission standpoint, that Appleton's been my baby for the last couple of years, and safety is is most paramount. And, we lead with family fun. It not to be confused with a bar that has axe throwing. There are those operations out there. And, having been in the industry and experiencing for the last couple of years, a couple principles that I know in my life journey: nothing good happens after midnight. And, that's reflected in our business model and our hours. And, we've got very stringent house rules, like extremely stringent. And, the beer or alcohol side of things is really just when you're there for 60 to 90 minutes, a beer or two. And we do have that posted on signs as well.
So would you say that's the difference between sort of yourselves and a traditional axe throwing bar is kind of the focus on safety? I mean, you've got a lot of different activities going on, as well as I just looked up the panoply of things you could do, right? I mean, it's just, how do you sort of monitor and manage sort of all of that?
Yeah. So, and that's, part of that is Brandon, who's under my wing on this. I guess I can refer to Appleton. We have two to four full-time team members. So, with specific job duties, and one of them is safety, which is kind of still in my court. But at any one given time in Madison, based on the capacity of our lanes, we envision about 4 team members, with one dedicated behind the service counter, and then lane coaches or axe masters or any other pun you can think of for that duty, monitoring the group. So nobody ever touches an axe in our facility until we've gone through, I can do the presentation in about 3 minutes, but it's from 3 to 7 minutes. And that encompasses, here are the games, here's how they're played. There's a lot of them. And then the safety component, which I could go on and on about, and then demonstration on how to throw. So we don't leave a station or a lane or a group until we have seen successful and proper mechanical axe throwing techniques. And then we kind of step back, and then we're essentially a server to that group, or a host, if you will, because we do a lot of parties. And we're just on them, and then we're engaging with them. We'll have challenges, and it's all about interaction for us.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Assistant City Attorney Zellaby.
Thank you. So you allow people who are wielding these axes to consume alcohol while they're
Correct.
wielding the axe?
Well, not beer in hand, no, but at their table, yes.
So they can be drinking and then get up and grab a hold of an axe?
Correct.
Do you limit the number of alcohol beverages to people at the establishment?
Yeah, we do have, as part of our house rules, 2 beverages. Now, which is something we enforce. The thing that we monitor more so is the condition that people arrive. So again, a big component of nothing good happens after midnight. That eliminates a pretty good proportion of people that maybe have been over consuming elsewhere and then arrive to us for their axe throwing experience. And if we've ever had 1 or 2 occurrences, it's been individuals that, clearly need to get a cab home already before they even got there.
And you don't have any trouble obtaining insurance for this kind of thing?
Aside from monetary commitments, it's very intensive. No. It's actually called axethrowinginsurance.com, whom I work with closely. And I will say, if you do some Google searching axe throwing, there's an affiliation called World Axe Throwing League, WATL, and we're members of that. And they're, we carry in some of their vision and principles. And Appleton's hosting the World Championship in about 6 weeks So about 500 or 600 competitors from around the world will
So-
be coming to downtown Appleton.
So if somebody comes into your establishment, this one in particular, and they're throwing the axes, they are not allowed to consume more than 2 alcohol beverages during their whole time that they're throwing?
Correct, while they're throwing, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Assistant City Attorney Zelvi. Mr. Fletcher.
Carl, in your business plan, I think you cite 2 kind of competitors, right? Or 2 in the Madison area. Can you sort of name them in terms of who you see as competitors in this sort of axe throwing space in the area?
Yeah, so there's Happy Axe, and then there's Flannel Jacks Madison, which is a franchise model, I believe, out of Minnesota. Happy Axe, I don't have a lot of details about them, but they're both kind of on the western corridor. I don't know exactly the city limits, but I believe they're hugging Middleton, probably because rent variations will change dramatically going west. So what I do know about them is, Flannel Jacks, for example, they do more of a booth style, and it's worth noting the booth style is 2 targets in 1 confined lane, if you will. And what we do different is, and you can probably sense the hesitation with that. You've got 2 people sharing 1 space and throwing axes. We don't care for that at all. We do lane dividers between each lane. So whatever happens on lane 7 has no effect on lane 8, unlike not just Flannel Jacks, but a vast majority of operators around the country like this booth model. Not sure why. So we do add extra precautions with lane division and beyond overkill on the fencing and paneling that separates those 2 lanes.
And to be clear, right? I mean, the axe throwing sort of bar concept is something that's been, how the market much better than I do. I mean, how many sort of bars like this are there nationally? And again, seemingly because of the insurance setup, there are standards, et cetera, that are typically followed in this space that you're kind of adhering to, correct?
Yeah, correct. So going through the insurance process and quoting my agent, he serves about 600 locations, which is the vast majority of them. I think Wisconsin may have, I don't know if it's even 24. It might be 10.
It looks like there are 9 within a 2 or 3 hour drive of Madison.
Yeah. So your question, I'm trying to get back to the question.
No,
so
go ahead.
Yeah, so insurance, and his name is Brett Pollock, and I was thinking, waiting here for a couple hours, some information that he was sharing with me, in the claims world, and I can speak for Appleton too. We've had none, and he can only recall 3. 2 of them were natural disasters. And one of them, he didn't really go into details. So it's a pretty safe sport, and it's becoming a sport. So it's a Canadian business model, if you will, that I don't know, Americans or someone grabbed hold of and turned it into an experience that's now becoming a sport that's pretty heavy in Wisconsin. And I'll say it's a very seasonal business. In that, when it gets cold, which is what's happening now, we tend to see a large increase, and then the corporate stuff as well.
And Carl, how long, I could probably put from the business plan, how long have you been sort of operating your app?
It'll be two years on Halloween or day before.
Okay, super. Thank you very much again.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Alder Miazzi.
Oh, I just had a couple questions. Is there anything to, how should I say, I know you said that there's a 2-drink limit, but how do you know if somebody hasn't already came there with a few, four beers before they got there? How do you contain that?
We have no way of measuring that. I mean, aside from visual components that, are clearly evident, slurred speech, things that, you could see on, in kind of your line of work too. Like, we're looking for glossy eyed, can't really walk through the door, can't sit on a stool, none of that stuff. I mean, we have absolutely zero control or way that legally that I think that we could even monitor that on how they're walking in the door.
All right. And just a quick, what's the worst I'm sure there's freak accidents all the time, but what are some of the incidents that you might have heard happen?
Yeah. So when it first came, when axe throwing first kind of was hitting the industry fast and quick, there's kind of a very viral video of a lady throwing an axe in a facility that had rubber like all over their lanes and stuff, and throwing a rubber handled axe that is kind of like a bouncy ball. That was, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, or maybe even sooner, but that was a near miss. That wasn't even a big thing there. And full disclosure, we do keep Band-Aids. So one thing that we do on our safety thing, and you'd be surprised, these axes are sharp. We say it 17 times. Do not run your finger on them. Trust us, they're sharp. They stick in wood. And you get a couple Band-Aids. That's full disclosure.
A couple of Band-Aids and with an axe. Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's
should pick. I think I look a little bit more than just a scratch with the axe, but
yeah.
Well, that's
so I mean,
with their finger, they're not throwing it at somebody.
Yeah, and it's closed-toed shoes. So that's a really big one. You'll see it on every venue's website or whatever. Must wear closed-toed shoes, because the people assessing risk probably assume an axe falling and getting a little piggy by the ground would be a hazard. So that's something we also have in place on the safety side of things.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Kyle, I'm kind of picturing something, and I want to see if I'm getting it right. So you're talking about lanes, and I'm assuming all the lanes kind of face in the same direction.
Correct.
How do people get the axes back again?
They are only allowed to throw one axe at a time. So I guess I'll give you a little more of a visual. The lanes are 12.
Is it kind of like bowling, where it's like everybody's at the end where you're nothing's flying around at you, and then you're sending the trouble downstream?
It is almost identical to bowling. So you got a table, you got bowling has the dots. You got the beginning of the throwing box, which is 4 feet away from the caution line that we'll have on the ground. And that's where you throw the axe. The lane dividers and walls for those go about 6 inches into the throwing box. So you're not even really sure you're next to someone, but you're about 5.5, 6 feet away. I think the lane width is 6 feet, or just short of that. And you're throwing down a lane 12 feet away.
Okay. That's comforting. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, and one other thing for Alder Miadzi, the whole process of assessing incoming patrons to see their state, that's something every bar has to do, because just like these people don't want drunk people throwing axes around, a bar doesn't want somebody who's sloppy drunk in their bar, whether it happened there or somewhere else. Committee, what additional questions do you have for the applicant? Alder Miazzi?
Chair, I'm just wondering why you asked that question, or why do you direct it toward me?
Because you were asking about how they would know that somebody had already been drinking.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No problem. Alder Verveer.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, further questions for the applicant, please. Hello, Kyle. You've asked and answered many of the questions that I had, and I'm certainly comfortable with your business plan. I did have a question or two, though. The first one is the capacity. We typically don't like to have ranges, and where we don't have ranges for capacities, and on your application, you listed 70 to 75. And then I further noted that the establishment that apparently has gone out of business, which I had no idea, Madison Indoor Golf was going out of business until I read your application. We had licensed them for a smaller capacity of 49. Obviously, yes. Simulated golf and axe throwing are different space requirements, but could you just elaborate, excuse me, it's been a long day, further as to where you derived your capacity number from and so forth?
Yeah, so it's certainly not my expertise and was kind of in conversations with an architect and what is the space, here's what it was, what could it be, were outside of my knowledge. But in terms of functionality for us, so if we have 8 lanes, the most common booking or average, if you will, is about 3 or 4 per lane. Now, when you get into corporate stuff, now you're talking larger groups, and I'll refer to Appleton again, just that's where my knowledge is. But with 12 lanes, it's a whole different animal in that, and an extra 1,200 square feet, I believe. So, we'll do groups of, we'd like to advertise for groups of, in the 40s. And then aside from that, like on a Friday night, you got the lanes full, 8 different groups or families that are from 3 to 5 people, and then they're going to be throwing. And 99% of our business is booked and reserved online. So the next groups start to roll in, 5 or 10 minutes prior to their event start time. So at times you're going to see just kind of a rotation in the building. They'll come in, check in, probably end up in our yard games and waiting for their turn as we shuffle those groups out of the axe lanes and close out tabs. And maybe there's some pizzas that get polished off or whatnot. So in general, that number does kind of work for us, the 50 or the 70. But we were unsure of what was actually feasible or allowed.
Well, as you mentioned earlier, you've been with us for several hours now tonight, so you've heard our previous conversation that the capacity that we would grant you tonight, if you have a favorable vote for the granting of your beer license, would be the maximum you're allowed. But if it turns out that building inspection or fire department say that nope, you can't have 75, then you have to go with the lower of those numbers, of course. So the city clerk's office, as you might have noted, listed 75 on our agenda. So as of tonight, based on what you just articulated and including the research of your architect, 75 is the capacity that you're seeking and think you can easily accommodate. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Then the other thing I wanted to ask, and it's kind of a humorous thing, and but I don't know if you noticed, but in your business plan, there's a whole paragraph that's the subtitle is axe throwing, but then it's all about something called paw print post.
Oh, that was a copy paste.
I presume that is like I'm going to say copy and paste or clear typo. But I just wanted to confirm that paragraph has nothing to do with what you're trying to do here on.
No, that was too busy. Copy paste there. My apologies.
Okay, no worries. Thanks a lot and good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Of course. Mr. Fletcher and then Alder Carter.
Kyle, thanks. Just to clarify, your Appleton location does have an alcohol license, correct?
Oh.
Can you hear me?
I lost him at Appleton.
Oh, can you hear me now, Kyle?
Oh, I lost you at Appleton.
What I was asking was, does your Appleton location have an alcohol license?
This is Brandon Long.
Thanks, Brandon.
His business partner. I don't know if maybe Kyle's having some connection issues, but yes, the Appleton facility does have an alcohol license, same alcohol license that we are applying for now.
Got it. And Brandon, do you, and this isn't this is just me exploring this, out of your sort of two competitors in Madison, just sort of quickly researching, one of them apparently does not have alcohol sort of as part of their business plan, and the other does, which is going to bring me to the question later for the deputy city clerk on to see if sort of what the license conditions were for flannel jacks at some stage, or whether that's even within sort of our purview. But do you think the business plan is sort of reliant? You need to have the alcohol license in order to make it work?
In our opinion, yes. If you look at the reviews of the two that are already in Madison, Flannel Jacks and Happy Axe, Happy Axe actually has much worse reviews than Flannel Jacks. And if you dig into the reviews, a lot of there is definitely enough that have to do with not serving alcohol. I do definitely think that everybody can have fun without alcohol, but just like many other establishments, I think it's a pretty major bonus for patrons and guests that come in.
And again, the majority of the institutions that we were talking about earlier, that 600, let's say, plus in the United States, most of them serve alcohol, correct?
Correct. And actually, there are some that even serve liquor. We do not want to go there. That is not part of our business plan, nor will it be in the future. We do not feel that liquor and axes should be mixed, but beer and seltzers, that kind of thing, is a little bit different in our minds.
Super. Thank you very much, Brandon. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Mr. Fletcher, I believe that Watts Road is not City of Madison, or at least the part of it there. Alder Carter, then Mr. Verbeek.
Yeah, Brandon or Kyle, if he's back. On your application, it says 2% food. Is that because people can bring in food or what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Kyle. Yes, Kyle, you go ahead.
Yeah. So people can bring in food. We don't sell it or request like a fee. So we highly encourage, and I hope to in Madison as well, but in Appleton, we highly encourage our guests or parties to bring in food. That way they can do their own thing. And it's a tougher industry. I've born and raised in a family restaurant, so I understand food challenges, but and people can have whatever they want. They want subs, tacos, and we just don't. We got to focus only on axe throwing. So I don't know if that was to be for apparel, or is that soda water? Is that soda water maybe? Is that classified?
I don't know. It just said 2% food. That's why I asked.
It might include I think food is non-alcoholic drinks. I think it's food, but I could be wrong.
And I was just going to ask because you said it's family oriented and 12-year-olds can and participate, but would you have any kids drinks? So
Yes.
is that the water, soda? I'm just trying to figure it out.
Yes, so that would be soda, a variety of soda options, water, Snapple, juice, root beer. And on that front, we're going to stick to mainly canned stuff and get away from glass. And so just mainly canned stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Verbeek.
Yeah, I just want to clarify two things. So one, Flannel Jacks is in the town of Middleton, is where that resides. And the second part is that the food part of the ratios does include non-alcoholic beverages.
Thank you, Mr. Verbeek. All right, committee, what additional questions do you have for the applicants? Mr. Verbeek, are there any other registrants for this item?
There are not.
Ms. Westra.
I'd like to move approval.
Your motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Alder Verveer. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any dissent? Hearing none. Motion carries. Item 28 is granted. Congratulations, Kyle and Brandon, for making the scariest new bowling alley in town.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Item 29, discussion regarding subcommittee membership. Who's going to take point on this one?
I can talk just about it. I brought it last month. I know we have a set membership on both committees. For the subcommittee for operators, we have our 3 voting members, but we also have 2 spots for alternates. And we only have 1 person who's an alternate, and that's Dr. Reese. And since we've established the membership of those committees, we've had new membership or returning membership to the committee. And so I kind of brought it up as an opportunity if people want to move off the committee or move on the committee, any sort of movement like that.
What a great idea. Committee members, feel free to hop in if you're interested.
And I think last month we had mentioned that we don't really have set alternates for the operations subcommittee. Although I know the standing practice has always been, if you're interested, you can certainly show up and provide the input. But I don't think we have set a number or the existence of alternate voting members for the operations subcommittee.
I don't know whether this is kosher or not, but given that both these subcommittees are made up wholly of members of this committee, is there any problem with having every member of the committee as an alternate member of the subcommittee? So it broadens the pool of people in case there's a quorum challenge.
I haven't heard that suggested before, but I can't think of a rule that it would violate.
Beautiful. Thank you. What do people think? Mr. Burshak?
I think that's a good idea, Chair Donnelly. If there's a quorum problem on one of the subcommittees, feel free to give me a call and I'll try to help out if I can.
Wonderful. Thank you. Alder Carter.
I was just going to say that I think that's a wonderful idea. Another brilliant idea coming from the ALRC.
All right. Mr. Verbic, procedurally, what do we need to do to put that into practice?
I don't know.
I would suggest we just put it on next month's agenda so we make sure that it's noticed that we're going to make these appointments.
That works for me. Jim, can you make it so?
Sure.
Now, the other part of what Jim had brought up was, is there anyone who's interested in being a non-alternate member of a committee who is not currently? I know last time we had that, a member of the committee happily relinquished their spot to give somebody else a chance. And the silence is deafening. Okay, I think people might feel like they're busy enough. Dr. Reese.
Just to mention, I think Miss Farley was asking about this, so maybe we could add that discussion next month if she's able to be here.
That's a great idea. Okay. I don't think there's anything we need to vote on. So if there's no further discussion, I will move on to the next item. Item 30, report of MPD. Captain Sanders, is there anything to which you would like to draw the committee's attention?
There is nothing too significant, Mr. Chair. If you've seen your notes, we've kind of been stat quo. We're entering that kind of down period with the bars within the downtown area. I will state that we are internally heavily in the planning mode for next weekend, which is Halloween weekend, the 29th to be exact, was the date that was formerly known as Freak Fest. But as many of you are aware, there is no Freak Fest this year, and so we still plan accordingly. I remember the days being a part of the special events team where there was no planned events and things got a little hectic and a little out of control, as many of you might all be aware of as well. Outside of that, there was one significant kind of battery that I did take note of that occurred at Chasers 2.0 involving a former employee who was being very disorderly and had assaulted one of the staff members. That individual was taken into custody without incident. And then from there, I would just highlight that as we're wrapping up our summer strategic plan, our Central Police community team has gotten back to kind of doing a little bit more regular bar checks, with the most recent one being at the Irish Pub, in which they were able to identify 34 underage patrons and collected 29 fake IDs. With that being said, it was also noted that most of those IDs were from online. So, that's the very realistic looking IDs that is hard for the naked eye to observe and tell actually that they are fakes. So that's what I have kind of for a report. Any questions?
Committee, what questions do you have for Captain Sanders? Dr. Reese.
Did anything come from that other check that we mentioned last month with a very, very large number of underagers? Is there anything we need to think about for that? Or is that still ongoing?
Sadly, that I'm still in the process of reviewing, because basically what I have to do is go through every single fake ID and, see whether it is appropriate to charge for that particular one or not. So I've gone through every single one of the citations, and now I'm in the process of going back through with the IDs and doing that. So by the next meeting, I am pretty sure you will know what is going to happen with that.
Thanks. That sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
And the Irish, wow, that's impressive, because that place isn't that big. So
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Thanks for the report. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Reese. Committee, what additional questions do you have for Captain Sanders? All right. Thank you, Harrison. Next up, item 31, summary of licenses issued from the clerk's office. Mr. Verbeek, is there anything to which you would like to draw our attention?
Not really. I'll just say that we have 5 regular licenses available as they're starting to dwindle down from the ones that came available in renewal time. That's it.
Thank you. Committee, what questions do you have for Mr. Verbeek? All right, that brings, Alder Carter.
I just have a quick question for Jim. When I was looking at those licenses, do we, for example, it was fees, it was zoning, building inspection, do we ping each one, or how does that work? Because it seems like it's the same things all the time. So is it the applicant that is responsible for that?
It is, because they might have to set up visits. Sometimes it can be desk review, sometimes it's visits, depending on what's changed, what hasn't changed. Okay. But typically when they pass Common Council, I'll send an email to the applicant that says, congratulations, you've been granted your license. Here are the people you need to contact and provide emails and phone numbers for all 4 of those. And then we usually don't ask them to do the fee part until they've done the other 4. Since we do prorate the fees, it's dependent on when they pass the other 4 that we would issue an invoice to them. And we don't want to charge them one and then it takes like 3 months and then we overcharge them by 150 and then we have to refund it. It's just a whole lot cleaner for everyone and makes much more sense to just invoice them at the end of it. So that's usually the one that sort of hangs on. Obviously this one, OSO's on there, and OSO actually has been issued since then. But that was one where they had a provisional because it was an establishment that was operating under a state permit before, so they were serving alcohol in the past, and so we granted them a provisional while they were going through the application process. But almost always we see the fee part until the end of that.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Alder Carter. Committee, what additional questions do you have for Mr. Verbeek? Excellent. Thank you very much, Jim. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. Your motion from Mr. Fletcher, second from Alder Miadzi. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed to have the same privilege. Motion carries. ALRC meeting is adjourned at 8:24 p.m. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Right.